Welcome to the Small Church Podcast, where faith, community, and ministry intersect in the unique context of smaller congregations. I'm your host, Tony Marr, and I'm thrilled to be joined by two men who are convinced they're a little bit more talented than I am.
That is right. I'm Robert Kell, one of those supposedly more talented guys, co-host and fellow small church leader. Together, we're here to explore the challenges, triumphs, and inspiring stories within the tight-knit communities that make up our smaller churches.
And I'm Bruce Montgomery, the one here to bring even more to the table than these two and offer a unique perspective to our conversation.
So whether you believe this talent hierarchy or not, you're in for a treat. If you're a pastor, a church member, or just curious about the world of leadership, you're in the right place.
Each episode, we dive into topics that matter to you, from innovative ministry ideas to navigating the unique dynamics of a smaller congregation.
So grab your cup of coffee, settle in, and let's journey together through the wonderful tapestry of small church life.
This is the Small Church Podcast.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? And happy Thanksgiving.
Woohoo! Happy Thanksgiving!
It is the week of Thanksgiving, and we are thankful to be here with you today on the Small Church Podcast. Maybe you're listening to this as you're driving down the interstate on the way to celebrate with friends and family. Maybe you're listening to us this morning while you're out for a run on a crisp fall morning, or maybe you're sitting behind your desk. Robert is shaking his head saying, I am definitely not out for a run right now.
Bruce, are we out running?
No, I'm not. I'm looking for the pumpkin pie.
I was disappointed we didn't have Charlie Brown Thanksgiving here. No pretzels. Just no Charlie Brown Thanksgiving meal sitting here when I showed up.
I'm really sorry about that. But I am. So my wife and I were talking about this the other day, not to get off track 30 seconds into the show. But I am a traditionalist. I am all about tradition. And if you break my tradition, oh man, it's on. It's like you don't mess with my tradition. And one of my greatest traditions is the Charlie Brown, the Peanuts holiday specials. And so Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, have to watch it. Thanksgiving Charlie Brown, have to watch it. Merry Christmas Charlie Brown, or Charlie Brown Christmas, I guess is what it's called. Have to watch it. And now, starting last year, and I own them all on every format that you could have, right? So I own them on VHS, Betamax, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. But especially the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown and Charlie Brown Christmas, I watch it live when it is broadcast on ABC at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. I watch it live. And it doesn't matter that I have it in every digital format. I want the full out. They take 17 minutes of a show and turn it into an hour-long special with commercial breaks and all of that, and I absolutely love it. And it has been a staple since 1978 when I was born that I have done this. And last year was the first year since it debuted in 65, something like that. Someone's going to fact check me on that, but I think that's about right. That it did not air live because Apple bought the rights to it, and now you can only stream it on Apple Plus or whatever Apple's streaming service is. And I'm extremely bitter about that.
I want to say I'm sorry, but I'm not sure where to go with that.
We'll edit this out.
Yeah. I don't even like the song that he plays, the Christmas song. So when it comes on, I'll turn the radio off.
If we could just mute Bruce for the rest of the
I
show
know,
now.
Bruce, you're done. You're canceled, Bruce.
That's worse than my I hate pumpkin spice like stuff from like a month ago.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, yes, I do. All the things pumpkin, I'm out.
God ordained that.
I'm sure he did, and he also created Satan. So, sometimes things turn evil, even though they might have been intended for good.
Oh, goodness. So, gentlemen, last night at about midnight, I had an idea. And these are some of the dangerous times for me when I'm laying in bed trying to sleep and an idea pops into my head. And so I have an idea for a new segment for our show. And I'm pretty excited to share with you, gentlemen. It was inspired by the many small churches that hopefully a lot of them are listeners and audiences of our podcast. And in honor of our small churches, it's a new segment that I would like to introduce to the show called small church signs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Small church signs, what do you mean by that? Let me tell you what I mean. Have any of you been driving down a country road or just out for a jog? Never mind, you guys didn't do that. And you see a church sign, a church marquee that has a phrase written on it that someone took the time out of their busy schedule to sift through the box of all the black letters, to go out, to unlock their big display case, to remove the previous message and to put a new message on. The idea behind their message was maybe to attract people to their church. Maybe it was simply just to give you a good laugh and brighten up your day. But you almost wreck your car as you're trying to crane your neck to read the sign. Am I the only one?
No, but I have to say this. I have never thought about that from the perspective that someone is wanting to make me laugh. I've always felt like that people put these up with the true intent that somebody's going to read that, and if you're looking for a sign to come to church, this is it. I'm like, this is your sign to come to church that day, and I've never thought about it as a gag thing that somebody would do. So
I have to think that way. Otherwise, I'm going to lose all faith in the church. So maybe just that church, but I have to think that this has to be a joke, right? And so, without further ado, I debut the newest segment of the Small Church Podcast, Signs.
It was me reading the sign.
Which was my sign? Here's your sign.
So our small church sign of the week comes courtesy of a local church here that their sign read, "Hell is hot. This church is prayer conditioned."
That was worse than my neighborhood, where the church almost crossing each other and they had warring signs. And they change them up and respond to each other. It's kind of fun.
warring signs at churches?
Yeah.
I know the music was still playing and everybody didn't hear that. So you have somewhere from like your hometown or like local to us?
Not recently, but about a few years ago, there was a couple churches in my neighborhood who had signs and they were responding to each other. Not always friendly, but they were responding to each other.
These
Not
are
always
the
friendly.
churches in your neighborhood.
Oh, gosh.
In your neighborhood. All right.
So
That's funny. I like the segment.
That was Signs. And if you would like to participate with us in Signs, you can submit your favorite church sign that you have seen or see on our Facebook page. Shoot us a picture because we have to have it verified that it was an official church sign, not just something that you Googled. And we will post pictures of the church signs that we see on our Facebook page. So be sure that you like Higher Ministries on the Facebook page. The Small Church Podcast is brought to you by Higher Ministries. For all of your church leadership needs, visit higherministries.com.
It's very good. I like that. It's very good radio voice right there.
Like that?
Yeah.
Excellent,
Nice.
excellent.
I owe that all to Bruce Montgomery, Dr. Bruce Montgomery. So it is the week of Thanksgiving, and we are going to do a special edition of the Small Church Podcast today, where we are going to talk about Thanksgiving, our favorite Thanksgiving memories, our favorite things that we experience in Thanksgiving, and how the church can be a part of Thanksgiving in their community and with the people that they serve. So, guys, I'm just simply going to ask you, we're going to kick this thing off. What is a specific, not a general, but give me a specific Thanksgiving memory from your past?
I was going to let Bruce go. I think Bruce is still pondering.
But my past is so much longer.
Yeah,
than yours.
mine's shorter. It took me a quicker time to get there.
I guess one memory was when I came to the church I am at now, and we have a food ministry, and taking turkeys and turkey boxes out to some of the areas where they're needed, and people had signed up for that, and they were happy to see us come in, and then all the other people made me so sad that didn't sign up. They didn't get away. I went back and grabbed a few more and brought them back out to them, but just to see that. You know that it's there. The families don't have even enough food sometimes to go around, and then we have excess. And to see that, with kids. That's what really kind of touched me, and it's left a memory in my mind. So Thanksgiving is a time where I would like to say our family gets together and this is what they're thankful for, but in reality, by the time our family gets together and the talk goes somewhere else, and it's hard to, I don't always steer it where it needs to be back to God and back to thankfulness. It's gotten away from me, and we get into a conversation and you want it to go some way, but it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I have not really been able to discipline myself enough to bring that back. And so Thanksgiving is a time for family for me. Whenever we get together, it's a wonderful time just to spend time with family, see what they're doing. Even though we all live in the same town, we don't always see each other very often. And so it's family.
Yeah. So I want to...
Bruce went very
He went
heavy
super
there.
deep, and
Yeah.
I want to be sure before I maybe lighten things a little bit. Are we talking a little bit? I know we talked about doing some ministry stuff too. Are we talking about personal stuff or
Personal, absolute personal. Yep.
All right,
Favorite
so
Thanksgiving memory.
I'm gonna lean in to that part there. When I was a kid, we grew up. I grew up several hours from where my parents both were from. So every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, we'd load up and head, and we would go and see family. And I loved the fact of just waking up at my grandparents' house, being there, all the my dad's an only child, but it was still awesome. I mean, we went to this restaurant called Pops, and I mean, we ate kind of a early lunch on Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving weekend kind of thing and stuff like that, and just did these things that was really, really cool. And I loved that moment in space. But like my mom is the oldest of 5 kids, and so large family, all of us showing up, and so echoing a lot of what Bruce said. It's this family rhythm. I don't know that it was, I mean, I hate to use the word it wasn't special, because it really was for me and for us and for our family. But it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything outlandish. Everybody cooked food and brought it. And we were there, so Mom helped her mom, my grandmother, fix all the food. My granddad was a dairy farmer, and so I remember this one Thanksgiving. He had taken me out, and we were working through the fields with the cattle, and it started just pouring rain. I mean, like bottom fell out. Massive rain, and the only way he could get us to safety was he pulled up this tarp, and he said, all right, let's crawl under here. So we crawl up under this tarp, and it was ensilage. And I don't know how much farming you have done, but it's like the ground up corn and stuff, and all this stuff, and it is the worst.
I had no clue what ensilage meant.
I might have said it wrong. This is what my grandparents called it. They might have been messing with me. So if it is, you can razz me online.
I just know nothing about farming.
Learning new things.
But like I'm talking about the other people listening. Somebody's going to know. But like it was the most horrid smell in the world. I mean, it is absolutely like rottening almost at times, just kind of smell. And so we get out and we get back, and I mean, I didn't really bring work clothes. I was out in somewhat, decent clothes and things. And we get back, and I thought my mom was going to kill her dad. I mean, she was so mad, and he just sat and laughed. And so that moment and being with family and those relationships and things, man, I'll never forget that stuff. Being a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid and going back in those moments and sitting, because none of that happens now. I mean, there, of course, my grandparents been passed away for many, many years, and things change and life goes and you move away. So anyway, but beautiful time, really good. What about you, Tony?
Oh, so I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my top 7 holidays of the year. And growing up, my church participated in one of the greatest church Thanksgiving traditions that is celebrated around the globe, and that is the Thanksgiving morning turkey bowl, where everyone comes out to a local high school and plays flag football. And
where was your church at?
We were in
Did they
Las
take
Vegas.
senior citizens?
Yeah. Well, they did, and that's part of the story later on, actually. And so when I was in middle school and high school, that's how I would start every Thanksgiving morning. And one very memorable Thanksgiving. We were in the midst of a very aggressive, very competitive flag football game on Thanksgiving morning, and they lined me up at wide receiver. And my girlfriend at the time decided she was going to play cornerback and guard me. And so I went on an out route, just a simple out route, and made my cut. And as I went, the quarterback threw, just dropped a dime right into the pocket there. And I caught it, and I went to turn up field to score. I'm already having visions of winning the game, scoring the game-winning touchdown on Thanksgiving, something that is a Cowboys fan you're not
I'm
used
not
to
used
seeing
to.
very often.
Thanks for that.
And as I made my cut up the field, my, at the time, girlfriend, she wouldn't be my girlfriend for much longer, forgot that we were playing flag football and came and just nailed me. And her head went into my mouth, and my tooth went through my lips. Bruce, kind of like what happened to you a couple of weeks ago
That's a lot of fun to
when you
do,
had your fall.
yeah.
And next thing I knew, I woke up to a group of people surrounding me saying, "Are you okay?" Snapping their fingers and saying, "Come back to us, Tony. Come back. It's not too late. Don't go towards the light. Don't go towards the light." And I spent that entire Thanksgiving, instead of eating turkey and stuffing and pumpkin pie, Bruce, your favorite, I sat on the couch with an ice pack on my mouth.
Bag of frozen peas.
That looked like a football. And I have to wear a beard to this day because of the scar that I still have from where my teeth went through my lips. That didn't end my turkey bowl days, though. Many years later, as a youth pastor myself, I decided to continue on the tradition of the beloved turkey bowl, and we would go to the local high school where my church met on Sundays and would pull out our socks for our flags and play football. Me as the leader now of this game, and it was our second or third year of doing it that we had a gentleman who was quite a bit older than everyone else on the field that decided he wanted to relive his glory days and come out and play some flag football. And one of my high schoolers who played high school football thought that he would show just how great of an athlete he was and undercut this guy, breaking his leg, and us having to call an ambulance to come out, and me going and missing Thanksgiving with my family because I'm sitting in the ER with this gentleman who had compound fractures in his leg, thanks to an overly aggressive tackle on Thanksgiving morning at the Turkey Bowl. So that I officially retired from the Turkey Bowl after that Thanksgiving Sunday. So 2 Thanksgiving meals for me have been ruined by Turkey Bowl flag football. So now the only football that I partake in on Thanksgiving Thursday is watching the Dallas Cowboys lose and the Detroit Lions lose.
I was going to say, you could still have a lot of torture with football. Just become a Cowboys fan. And every Thanksgiving could be ruined for you. Tony, that's quite possibly the scariest and saddest thing I've heard about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm glad that I could make you feel better about your Thanksgiving.
Oh, my goodness.
Kind of characteristic of church athletics. So
It really is, isn't it?
every one of us who's played at any point in our life, that remember the glory days, but they don't remember we can't do those things anymore. I used to play basketball, and the things that would take me around people now take me through them and over them, and that guy, he something goes crazy. There, we get out there and do something, we go nuts, and then we hurt ourselves and hurt others. So I'm glad you survived it, and I really can't see the scar.
Well, thank you. Yeah, lots of plastic surgery.
As you were talking, I was thinking back, and I really hadn't thought about it a whole lot. Thanksgiving has been our family's favorite holiday. It's because we've always lived away. We've always been in a church 4 hours from home or things, and so Thanksgiving was a holiday we stayed home. We traveled at Christmas, we traveled at Easter, we traveled at all those other times. We just wanted to have a home holiday, and we invited our parents to come. And my wife's parents did, and family came, and that was fun to have them come to us and do things. My parents, I think, came once, and that's when my son was born, and they had to take the girls home with them when they left, and all the way back to Indiana, and we were up in Ohio. But I can remember just riding in the car, singing Christmas carols. or singing Christmas
On
music.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, you know me. I started in July.
You sing them on 4th of July.
Yeah. I start music for the 4th of July, and I stop January 10th. It's just that's my season of Christmas. But we were right along, and the kids we'd all sing the cassette tape things and sing and sing and sing, and that was one of those fun times with the family. It wasn't getting there at home. Actually, it was that trip. And
that's good.
That just hit me today when you were both talking. I thought, wow, the reality is that should have hit me first, because that's what we really kind of enjoy. And when we have it at our home, people come. It's nice. We love having people come to our home and eat with us, to do with us, and share with us. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. I did play football on Thanksgiving. I have 2 brothers. And we would just take turns. One guy would line up and pick up the ball, and the other 2 of us would smash him. And when finally somebody got hurt, we went inside. So we stayed low. We didn't mess up with anybody's face.
But that's what you're talking about there, though, is just one of the things that I love about, like, you kind of started in a space where I think that your family and the time with your family was so good, because you and your wife have always started at a place of gratitude and caring for others. And I know that's some stuff that, like, we're even, going to kind of continue and talking about in this conversation is, kind of how these Thanksgiving memories have shaped our understanding of gratitude and community, and how do we step into those things. And when you talk about the fact you started at a space where your family has served alongside you, and so when you guys sit and you guys travel, it's always been at the forefront of how you've led your family as they've seen. And so I don't think any of us doubted that you had great memories of you singing Christmas carols way too soon. I think my wife put our inflatables in the yard on November 7th this year. But
our house is fully decorated, except for our Christmas tree. We do a family Christmas calendar every year that we have every day planned of some Christmas activity that we're going to do when we have everyone in the home. And for Sunday, this past Sunday, our plan was to go pick out our Christmas tree, choose and cut Christmas tree. We couldn't find an open Christmas tree farm. So,
oh, that's terrible.
I know. So we're doing that this upcoming weekend, hopefully. But we are, other than our Christmas tree, our live Christmas tree, we have 3 other fake Christmas trees that are already up and decorated in our house. But our live Christmas tree is not up yet. Our main official tree, we're ready to go.
So, Bruce, how Christmassy do you feel? Do you have 4 to 5 Christmas trees sitting up in your house?
Not yet.
Year round?
They're around though, and that's when my youngest daughter, Erin, she's really a Christmas person. She's had her Christmas tree up already about a month. And it comes down to Christmas Day, but she gets it up and decorates it, and she's bought us one for our new house. And I'm waiting for her this week to come over and help me decorate it and put it in the house. But yeah, I love the seasons. But Christmas, I'm ready to celebrate Christmas. But Thanksgiving is one.
Well,
I get to stay home, and
yeah.
Again, I said at Christmas time, we were always traveling, and I love that traveling and the music and the things with the family. But it was nice to have people come to us and not have to pack up and drive a whole long distance.
Speaking of people coming to you, one of the first memories that I have of learning and really appreciating the value of Thanksgiving, my dad growing up owned a company that did drug rehabilitation and counseling. So anytime anyone in Clark County in Las Vegas was arrested on a misdemeanor or felony drug charge, they could either go to jail or they could go to my dad's program. And every year at Thanksgiving, he would invite one of his patients, one of his clients who didn't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving to our house. And so every Thanksgiving, we were having a stranger come and sit down at our table that was a drug addict who had been arrested on drug charges. And they would come and sit down and have Thanksgiving dinner with me and my family, and it drove me crazy because this was a family time. This is a time where I just wanted to be able to sit with my family and enjoy and watch football, and now I've got this stranger in my house that I honestly didn't feel safe around. They made me uncomfortable. They often said very inappropriate things because they didn't know our family or our social dynamic or anything like that. And I can remember one year, I must have been early high school, that at the end of the day I said, "Dad, why do you do this?" And he said, "Because we have so much to be thankful for in our life that I want to share some of that with someone else." And we had a long discussion about why he did that, why he interrupted and interfered my Thanksgiving to do something for someone else. And he really put me in my place of saying that this isn't about you. We have so much to be thankful for, that shouldn't we share that with other people that maybe don't have as much to be thankful for? And it really changed my my paradigm on Thanksgiving and really life in general and who we're supposed to be as followers of Jesus.
And I think that's one of the things is like, for me, sorry, excuse me. I don't, and maybe I'm just being super naive. I know we were traveling and stuff when I was a kid, and then we eventually moved to where my grandparents and stuff lived, like when I was in high school. And I just don't remember the moments of, like, I know a little bit later we're going to talk about some things that we can do in churches and stuff, and I'll talk about some things our current church is able to partner with and do then. But I just don't think of and remember these moments of that type of inconveniencing. And I hate to use that word, but I think that the greatest ministry, I think we've said it on this podcast before, the greatest ministry, maybe with Jamin, many times comes inside of the interruptions and the opportunities that we get to serve there. And so I think that for me, I enjoyed the family and I enjoyed that time, but I would have been just like you times 100 if it would have been something to where, like, my day got interrupted because it wasn't.
I really made myself look good in that story.
Oh.
I wasn't as kind
Yeah.
and understanding as.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were in high school, and I would have been too. But even like for a long time, I just didn't.
Bruce,
see
you
that
would have
serving.
been retired by then.
Yes. I'm still trying to figure out what retired means.
Yeah, we keep dragging you out to a weekly podcast and making you read books and watch TV shows and
Expecting
stuff.
me to be prepared. That's crazy.
Still be learning. So yeah, I just think that that's like when you talk about that, I think that, I'm so thankful for family and I'm thankful that what I learned there, but it was as I got much older into my mid-late 20s and moving on from there that I started seeing and going, okay, like we need to be a part of the solution. There's people who literally, like you were just saying about these people your dad are bringing in, like they have no other option. Like for them today, like it's nothing or it's this. And I think that sometimes that's a beautiful space to be in and not something we always think about firsthand, especially when it comes to something as big as Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later and how, as churches and as Christians, we can bring Thanksgiving to our community. But right now, it is time for your new favorite part of our show, Headline News.
It's time for Headline News, where Bruce, Robert, and Tony search the world over for the top headlines relevant to the Small Church podcast, and then talk about it. And now Headline News.
All right, so our article for Headline News this week is a rousing one. It was the top article that we saw in the church world today, and it is that very well known and loved author Gavin Ortlund is leaving full-time church pastorate ministry to become a full-time theology YouTuber. You guys are speechless on this. This really impacted you. Speechless on this story.
Bruce, go for it.
I was just spaced out on that.
So here's my thought. I actually, and this is probably just, you just can't know everybody. I don't really know this guy that well. But he's not the only person that's making these transitions and moves and those types of things. And, and we sit in this space. But, Bruce, rightfully so, has been able to step away from after, like Methuselah length service of the college has, yeah, you're welcome, has decided, been able to step away from that and stuff. And so, I'm still, very, very much pastoring and leading and doing these things on the side. With that said, if you want to do this well and you really want to be an influence and a voice, it takes a ton of time.
Yeah, it really does. I think what drew me to this article and to Gavin's story is that in some ways, not on as large of a scale, it mirrors mine a little bit, that I understand that after almost 20 years of full-time church ministry and really coming to a place of discouragement and frustration with some of the things that were happening with my church, largely because of my leadership. And so let me state that very clearly. It was because of my leadership and some things that I had done in leadership and transitions that we'd made, decisions that we'd made as a leadership in a church that I was at a place of just saying, what are we doing here? How are we really impacting non-Christians, or are we just simply catering to people that already know Jesus? And I was really struggling with that. And I began to look at my life and my gifts and my passions and what I wanted to do. I had a master's degree in storytelling that I was using every Sunday on stage. But I went to the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and saw 45,000 people that were coming for a weekend to this small little town in Tennessee to sit under tents in sometimes really bad weather and listen to people tell stories. And I looked around and saw all the people, thousands upon thousands of people, and two of the guys that I heard tell stories over the course of that weekend were former pastors, full-time pastors that had left full-time vocational ministry to do storytelling. And I looked at my life and the things that I enjoyed, and I said, they are getting the opportunity every time they get on stage to talk to thousands of people that will maybe never step foot in a church, maybe don't know Jesus. And can I use my gifts that God has given me and the passions that God has given me in a way to have a voice and reach people in a different venue, a different medium that might not ever step foot in a church? And I think that's a lot of what Gavin is doing. As you read the article, he's saying through his 47,000 subscribers that he currently has on his YouTube channel, his reach is far greater than it is on a Sunday morning in his church in California. And so while some people might really criticize him for leaving the church ministry to have a YouTube channel, he's still doing incredible ministry there, and his reach is much broader. And that's something that not everyone can do. And so the opportunities for that, the chance to have 47,000 subscribers that are waiting on your videos to come out. And it's not like he's making videos showing how quickly he can chug a Pepsi. He's talking about scripture. He's talking about theology. He's answering tough questions that his listeners have. And I really admire him and what he's doing in that.
I don't know that I could handle just being away 100%. And again, this is unfair because I don't know exactly what he's going to do. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he'll have no capacity of a role with the church still, that he'll do this. I'm assuming it said in the article that he's going to travel more, speak more, those types of things. So my assumption will be he'll become loosely connected to a church, but he won't be at one very much unless he's the primary person on stage and teaching and doing. So on some level, I'm going, okay, I get it. You can create the 4 talks and use those all year long and not have to really do anything else. But 2, if you're going to already be gone, if you're going to be gone 30 weekends a year, why not just stay at a church? But I just think about the season that I'm in right now at my church. If all I was doing was sitting down and taking my sermons and even the stuff that doesn't make the sermon, the cutting room floor type things, and I sat down and worked that through in a creative way in a podcast YouTube format, emails are great, But when I get to stand with people and they'll come up, and not even weeks that I'm speaking, weeks that other guys are on our teaching team are speaking, like when people come up and they're broken and they're wanting to be obedient and they're trying to navigate, I live for helping. Like that's what I want to do. I want to help people take some real intentional next steps in their relationship with Jesus. So I don't have any issue with him stepping away and doing this. I've got 9 podcast ideas in my brain, and so I could do this all day long and feel like I could do it pretty well. But I just love the church, and I love teaching, and I love shepherding in that space, and that's something I couldn't give up is the shepherding part of pastoring.
So Robert, if the Small Church Podcast had 47,000 subscribers, you're saying you wouldn't quit your day job to do this full time?
I would not. I actually have told people, like, I love what I do right now so much. So I'm full time at my church. In today's world, my church is crazy generous, and I'm not saying anything and I tell them this, but I do some digital storytelling on the side, and so I work for a couple of companies and do some things that's amazing, and I love getting to do. But I tell people all the time, if I won a lottery, like one of those $1 billion things, I would show up Monday to work.
That's great.
I love teaching, and I love shepherding and pastoring, and it is a passion, something I just love to do.
All right, so this has been Headline News.
It's time for Headline News, where Bruce, Robert, and Tony search the world over for the top headlines relevant to the Small Church Podcast, and then talk about it. And now Headline News.
So now back to Thanksgiving. What are some of the things that you have done in churches that you served in, or maybe churches that you've been a part of outside of flag football on Thanksgiving morning that you have seen work really well in your church for Thanksgiving?
Mine kind of hits both these segments, and so I don't know. So I may not have much to say in one of these. So unfortunately for me, most churches that I've been a part of did not have real Thanksgiving traditions either. Like, we talked about Thanksgiving, but we didn't do potlucks because people were busy. And we didn't really serve the community because people were busy. So I didn't have a whole lot of rhythm in that. So there you go. Feel sad for me.
Thanksgiving is the overlooked holiday.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving purists, Thanksgiving defenders really talk a lot about that Halloween gets a ton of attention, Christmas gets a ton of attention, and in homes like mine and in the Montgomery household, the Christmas celebrations start on November 1st. And so a lot of times Thanksgiving gets overlooked. And I wonder for how many churches like yours growing up, Robert, that's the case in the church as well, that we're so quick to celebrate and eager to celebrate and push Christmas that Thanksgiving is just kind of like an asterisk.
Well, and I think you can re-listen to the first half of this podcast right now and realize that we spent more time talking about Christmas than we did Thanksgiving.
Very
so
true.
Even in the Thanksgiving podcast, we have spent more time talking about Christmas than Thanksgiving. I grew up in churches that were touched more traditional, so we had choirs and quartets and things like that, and so soon as October was over, we started the Christmas cantata. Like choir practice on, at 5:00 on Sunday afternoon was everybody rolling in with their Christmas cantata book and working through those songs and the drama that went with that and those types of things. And so, I think that even in those spaces, we didn't necessarily start decorating and stuff until the weekend of Thanksgiving. If somebody came in and hung wreaths on the door before Sunday, but it was definitely not something that we just, we're super intentional about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't think when leading a church we did a lot of things intentional about Thanksgiving. I'm looking around the room we're in right now, and it's totally decorated for Thanksgiving, and those will be down next week, and Christmas will be up. But I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of the forgotten, or it's such a family holiday that I would rather be with my family on Thanksgiving than going out and doing something else. That doesn't appeal to me. But being where my family is and just not even having conversation a lot, but just being together. The whole idea of touch. being there and catching up on because my kids don't all live near us, and if we can have them there at our place to catch up a little bit on where their life is and what they're doing, that's Thanksgiving to me. And I've not really pushed any kind of programming in churches, except when we had the food pantry things. And
Bruce, that's what I was just getting ready to say, is the church that you're serving at right now has an incredible food pantry ministry. And everything that I've always heard, and I don't have the statistics to back this up, so again, if anyone wants to fact check me on this, we'd love to get your comments after the show later on Facebook or email. But Bruce, I've heard it said that Thanksgiving is the busiest season for food pantries because you have so many families. Thanksgiving meal is the most traditional meal in the United States. I would say the world, but Thanksgiving isn't an international holiday. And so in the U.S., Thanksgiving dinner is the most traditional. 90% of families in this country will have turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing, and it's the traditional dinner, but it's an expensive meal. And so underprivileged families struggle to do that. You can't go and buy a $30, $40 turkey. And so
and
many
a lot of people,
churches
if you take it, don't know how to cook the food.
Well, that's very true.
I mean, like people don't know how to cook turkeys.
Yeah.
But anyway, many churches, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say many churches, that's a huge service that they have, is providing food in food pantries. I've heard many times before that it's their busiest season of the year.
I mean, the amount of food we go through with at that point in time, it is. And this past year, the church I serve, we had some new members come in, and they started having meals with the people. We still gave out the food and truckloads and truckloads of things. I think we feed over 500 families a month, and during Thanksgiving we try to get all that in. But this is the first time this past year that we've done anything at the church building and invited church members to come in and do this, and invited the people from the pantry. And I didn't go, but I think it was a success. But it was the first time that any church I've served with has done that, has had the meal.
One of the coolest things that I've seen churches do in recent years is and I think this is something that small churches can do very well and very effectively, is there are a lot of people that come into a community either for college or for work or something that don't have family here, that family is so far away, and they're used to spending Thanksgiving with their family, and now they find themselves in a new community. And so I've seen a lot of churches do what they call a Friendsgiving, where they have a Thanksgiving meal for all the people that don't have anywhere to go, all the people in their church or in their community. And one church that I was a part of many, many years ago that catered, the church, not intentionally, but over the course of years, found itself really having a high attendance of college students. The vast majority of the church were college students, which are not great for giving, but really great for serving. And a lot of these students, because Thanksgiving break is only a couple days, it didn't make sense for them to fly home or to drive hours and hours home. And so the church started this Thanksgiving meal for all of these college students and other transplants into the area. And it was one of the coolest events that I've experienced, something that they continue on to this day and that I've seen many other churches take part in and start doing. And what a great service to those families, to those individuals, to those people who may be feeling alone and homesick on Thanksgiving, and now they can come and be together in community and celebrating and really having something to be thankful for.
I didn't really equate what we were doing at Thanksgiving as our family at Milligan, but our kids at Milligan, some of them came from a long way and they couldn't get home. We had internationals, we had athletes, and so I just made it my goal to make sure none of them stayed on campus alone. And so one meal, I can remember we had three Argentinians, 2 Brazilians, and we had some Kenyans. We had a real international meal, and my kids, Drew was still fairly young. It was a shock, for him to get that interaction across culturally, and there I saw it. And Tony, you brought that out. The college students in your community, they may not be able to go home. They may be stuck there, and that's more lonely than ever. No family and no food and no fellowship, and so it is. And I'm going to go back today and find out if we're doing it again at our church. I haven't heard anything about it. A surprise. I know we've got a big meal coming up. That's ours. We've got 250 people coming to a Thanksgiving meal, and but I don't know on Thanksgiving Day what we're doing anything for our families or not. So I've got to go back home and ask some questions.
Yeah, Robert, you were telling us in our pre-show prep about something really cool that your church is doing.
Yeah, I mean, we several years ago, and this is before I was even on staff, that we've been able to partner with other churches, and we provide meals for a lot of families in our community, even at the jails. And in those spaces, we provide meals, and so all the churches, there's 5 or 6 churches that are plugged in. We provide turkeys and some dressing and drinks and desserts, and then we all give just because the school shouldn't have to cover this, we all give a certain amount of money to the school and the cafeteria. So I mean, this is a big community event. I mean, this high school, 750, 800 kids. And so, I mean, it's a, decent sized school, but their cafeteria workers come in and prep like fresh, like peel potatoes and make fresh mashed potatoes and things. And they put all of this together and on their end. And so all of us churches give money so the school system doesn't have to pay that. And then we come in on Thanksgiving morning, and it is an inconvenience. I mean, my family doesn't live right here in town with me, so we're an hour and a half or so from them. But because everyone else is in one place and we're in another, we're the ones who do the driving. Mm-hmm. So it's an inconvenience. But and like I said earlier, and we're talking about Jamin, but like these are the moments where ministry gets to really happen. But I stand shoulder to shoulder with people in my church, people from my community, where we're packing these meals and we send them through, and my kids are there. There's tons of our students and older elementary age kids who are there, who are serving, who are a part. They're stacking drinks and they're putting cakes together and they're cutting cakes, and the turkeys all come different ways. Some people smoke it, some people roast it, and some are like really like in this juicy hot water, and it's just gross to reach in there and grab it, but I'm sure it tastes amazing. But like it's just these ways that we get to step in and serve, and then we take and deliver them around town. So I mean, it's something we start at 9 and the packing goes till 11, and then from like 11 to 12:30, there's people driving all over our community, all over our county, taking well over 300 meals to families. And so,
how do I get on that list?
you are kind of in our community. Just tell them there's a number you can get.
Sounds so good.
It is. It's great. And I mean
the food,
the dressing. The dressing and stuff always looks amazing. And I mean, it's just really a cool space to be in, and we laugh and tell stories. And we've been like since July talking about, all right, it's time to serve weird turkey again. I mean, and just kind of because you stand with these people and you do this, and so it's a beautiful thing. My family's had to adjust. Not my parents and sisters and stuff have had to adjust some things because of it. But like we wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss that opportunity to go to be out there, because at the end of the day, if my mom wasn't here and my sisters and all of us weren't getting together, I'd just be sitting at home watching a parade. Right. And so hanging out with my kids, and my kids come in down the road when they're gone and married and back. It's a way that we can still go and serve as a family and kind of continue to instill those values. And the book that you're reading by Mulvihill that talks about the grandparenting and those types of things, it's a way that down the road, Lord willing, that we get a chance to continue to show what it means to sacrificially love and care for people in your space, in your community, to our grandkids and things down the road. So it's an inspiration to try and be healthier, to try and live longer, to try and just continue to do and invest in our family in that space. So I love that event. And I'd say this too, like if your church isn't doing that and you're a small church and you're going, man, we'd love to do some of these things. We'd love to have a food pantry like Bruce has talked about. We'd love to injure somebody every Thanksgiving like Tony's talked about. Or we would love to, do something where we partner with other churches. Maybe start with a space of looking around and seeing what's available. Your church might not. My church could not run a food pantry.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
We've tried to. We cannot do a food pantry. We're just not big enough. But we can invest into other spaces. So we partner with other ministries that we provide like what would be 3 or 4 weeks of a food pantry. And we take and put that in boxes and baskets, and we take it to ministries that are helping families that are, families that have been kind of dislocated from their homes and things like that. So we've found spaces to step in. And so if you're going, man, this would be great. My church really needs to get in this space. Maybe you do. But one, don't just feel like that you have to go out on Thanksgiving Day and, open up the food pantry and serve meals or these things. There's ways you can serve and be a part and really make a monstrous impact in your community without, like you said, Tony, reinventing the wheel. There's some people doing something in your area.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, gentlemen, it is time for everyone's favorite part of the Small Church Podcast, Pastor's Picks.
And now, Pastor's Picks. What are we reading? What are we watching? What are we listening to? Does anyone really care? Probably not. But we will tell you anyways.
Bruce, what are you watching this week?
Oh, Indiana University basketball started, so it goes along with Ohio State football.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I enjoy the most. And my wife doesn't. She appreciates it when because she can go in the kitchen and do something else. And but that's what I've been watching.
Did Indiana win?
Yeah.
You say that like, of course they did.
Of course,
Why are you even asking?
I still remember the era where Bobby Knight was there. You asked me,
Yeah, we
did
lost
they
Bob
win?
Knight a couple weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
That was very sad news. A very controversial man, but had a huge impact on the sports world, and I know on the lives of a lot of people. Some positive, some negative. But
I don't want to spend a lot of time there, but it was really interesting. If you ask the majority of people who are old enough to know who Bobby Knight is, they would say the chair throwing incident is how most people remember him. Yeah. But when you sit and listen, he did have a temper, and I get that. And he did some things that were kind of rough, especially even towards the end of his career. But you start talking to the coaches who had him and the people who played for him early on, he was such a developer of men and did a great job. And I don't know what happened. And I've watched his documentary and stuff and things. I know there was some things that just kind of clicked in him. But yeah
Bruce and
really
I have
invested.
a friend who played for Knight at Indiana many, many years ago. And he has nothing but great things to say about Bob Knight. So sorry to hear him go, of his passing.
But let me tell you what they would call the true story. One of the churches I served, some of the guys on the national championship team with him were elders in our church, and they always had Bobby Knight stories, and they'd always come together, and all those famous names are there. And they were getting on him, and he says, "Guys, you didn't get the right information." He said, "I was standing up and yelling at the referee, but this little old lady came up and she said, 'Are you using your chair?' 'I don't have one.' So I just was tossing it to her, and it wasn't anything else but that being courteous."
Oh,
the truth has been
Bob.
revealed
There we
here
go.
on the Small Church Podcast. You guys, finally, it only took 40 years for the truth to come out.
That is it.
Robert, what are you listening to?
Podcast world, listening to one thing I'm listening to. I have a guy at our church that used to have a steel drum band, and he handed me a CD just the other day, and I've got to listen to that because he'll expect me to have a conversation there. So, but yeah, I've got to listen to a steel drum band here soon, which will be fun. I love music, and it'll be a lot of fun. Podcast wise, listen to a really good podcast, kind of early in I started to say January, early in November. Jenny Allen, her mate for this podcast, was interviewing a guy and just talking about spiritual warfare. And it was an unbelievable, really short listen, a little over 30 minutes. I listened to everything on time and a half to 2 times. So it was like a 15 to 20 minute listen. And it was really, really, really good step. And then Preston Sprinkle had an interesting conversation early in November as just what should a Christian's conversation around what's happening in Israel and things be. And so, yeah, some really good stuff. Good conversations, not necessarily a lot of answers always, but really good thought-provoking stuff. What about you?
I am reading and listening because it's an audiobook. Leadership is Language by David Marquette. And just diving into that, I'm only a few chapters into it, but really interesting read so far. And so I'd recommend picking that up. Leadership is Language by David Marquette. He talks about, it's not a faith-based book in any way, it's just a leadership book, and talks about how the language that we use does more than actually the things that we're saying. And so it's been a good read so far, enjoying it, just diving into it, like I said. But so far gets the 2 thumbs up seal of approval. All right, well, that is Pastor's Picks. And guys, we are about out of time for today. So I want to just wrap up a few little things here in talking about Thanksgiving and gratitude, putting gratitude into action. I think what we've seen here is no matter the size of your church, no matter your budget, there are things that you can do. And we started off this show talking about how Thanksgiving kind of gets the bad stepchild or whatever, that it's the forgotten stepchild or whatever you want to say. It's the child under the stairs that often gets overlooked and forgotten. But as we've talked about things that Bruce, your church has done and is doing, and Robert, things that your church is doing, I think that maybe it's not as overlooked as we initially thought, and that it's a great opportunity for churches, small churches especially, to be involved in the community and the lives of people that maybe they're not going to see on Sundays, and be okay with that. And Thanksgiving is a time, above all, for us to be thankful. And so, with that, we are going to pull to conclusion this episode of the Small Church Podcast. We wish that you and your family, your church, and all of your friends would have a very, very happy Thanksgiving, that you would have safe travels, don't eat too much, go out and get in a run to burn off all those calories that you eat. Robert is shaking his head, saying, no, we're not going to do that. But sincerely, happy Thanksgiving from our families to yours. On behalf of Bruce Montgomery and Robert Kell, I am Tony Marr, and this is the Small Church Podcast. Find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all next week.